Struggling to meditate? Try this. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question submitted to Reddit. Okay, now hopefully you can hear me all right. Yes, excellent. So here's the question on Reddit. Do you also know that meditation is good for you, but you don't meditate? Hi everyone, despite knowing all the benefits of meditation, I almost never meditate. Does anyone else have the same thing? So here's the deal. If we have enough interest to learn that there are benefits to meditation, and we have enough interest to try to learn some techniques, and we still don't do it, that is not on us. Why is that? Because of evolution. All complex life forms on this planet evolved around the pleasure principle. We flee pain and we pursue pleasure. This is our most fundamental wiring to do this. So if we have received meditation instruction and we intellectually understand there are benefits, if we don't do it, it's because the methods we have been taught are painful. They're painful physically and they're painful mentally. I would like to address that. I would like to address the mental aspect of meditating, but first I want to address the physical aspect. Now, sadly, this is going to have to be a shortened live stream tonight because of many influences, including a technical snafu. So let's begin with the physical aspect. It starts with sitting. Notice this picture of the Buddha. We do not see in the oldest style of Buddhist statuary, we do not see the Buddha's legs grotesquely twisted into a full lotus position. There are many who posit that the introduction of the full lotus posture into Buddha's statuary was an act of patriarchy's elitism, as if to infer if you can't perform this posture, you cannot become a Buddha. And to this day, there are card-carrying members of the patriarchy who stomp and snort and insist that, no lotus position, no enlightenment, although the Buddha never mentioned such nonsense. So this style of sitting is very easy and very sustainable, and I'd like to walk you through it right now. I want a big thank you for James to valiantly strive to get my attention earlier, but doing so might have felt like trying to steer the Titanic before it hit the iceberg. So what I'm going to do is tap button 4. And button 4 appears to have the microphone working, which is a delightful change of pace. And so let's go over the rudimentaries of sitting from the bottom up. I have the good fortune to live in a place with hardwood floors. This place was, I think, built in the 30s. So hardwood floors. So what I do, what many, many meditators do, I acquired a quote-unquote Mexican-style yoga blanket, which you can find on Amazon for about $20 or so. It's pretty nominal. I fold it until it describes a rectangle, approximately 16 inches by 24 inches. I set it down. 1, 2, 3. The counting is just how I line it up with the camera. Don't mind that. And on top of this, I take something known as a zafu. Once again, this is very popular. I'm not so clever as to have made it up myself. A zafu is a Japanese term for a disc-shaped cushion full of buckwheat hulls. In time, the buckwheat will compress. You just buy additional buckwheat and you funnel it into the zipper behind the handle. So the funnel and the buckwheat is also available from Amazon. And no, I'm not getting kickbacks from Jeff Bezos. So before we futz about with our feet and our lower legs, we should begin by futzing about with our hands and our lower arms, also known as our wrists. Way back when we were kids in science class and we first discovered the terror of the human skeleton, we learned that although there's one bone from the shoulder to the elbow, there are two bones from the elbow to the hand. The fancy words for these bones are radius and ulna. They allow our hand to twist and give the royal wave. To a much lesser degree, the tibia and the fibia in our lower leg allow our foot to twist. Now it's to a much reduced range of motion. Because, let's face it, in my case, each ankle has to bear more than 200 pounds with every step I take. So, let's take this a step further. Even though I have a carpet, even though I have a rug between the crown of my ankle, let me see if I can get a better angle here, between the crown of my ankle, this thing right here, and the Mexican-style yoga blanket, that still is uncomfortable and it still is unsustainable. So just as we can twist our hand, we can twist our lower leg and allow the instep of our foot to come in contact with the carpet. So to do that, we twist not from the knees, because these bad boys are hinge joints. We twist from the hips, because these boys, where's my finger, are ball joints. And that makes it much more possible to sit this way. We can do the same thing with the top leg. It doesn't matter which leg's on top. My policy is simple. When it becomes uncomfortable to sit this way, then just reverse your legs. Now, there are lots of cranky bastards out there who will tell you you have to suffer, and it's the pain of sitting that purifies your bad karma, if there is such a thing. I would have to call bullshit on that. Ignoring your body's pain is one of the most efficient ways to injure your joints. Don't be stupid like me. Don't make the mistakes I did and think you're being a spiritual hero by cultivating bone spurs and torn lining, because you don't bounce back from that. Trust me, I know. It sucks. Listen to your body. Your body's going to ask you to change positions. Change positions. Your body's going to ask you to hydrate, to get plenty of fresh air and sunshine and exercise and sleep, to eat healthy foods, to eat fruits and vegetables and seeds and nuts and grains and legumes and pulses and tubers and the like. Eat those things. They're good for you. Your joints will thank you. Eat an anti-inflammatory diet. The more clean your diet, the more whole plant foods you eat, the happier your joints will be, the happier your lymphatic system will be. You might do it because you love animals. You might do it because you love the planet. You might do it because you want to be pretty. You might do it because you're a big old wimp like me and you just don't like pain. Whatever motivates you, treat your body with the tender mercies it requires. So we've got the ankles and the legs and the thighs figured out. We've got the tush figured out because the tush is sitting on that circular cushion we call the zafu. Now let's look at our shoulders. Some boneheaded meditation teachers tell people to, I kid you not, well, they tell people that to be over precise. And if the wrong leg is on top, well, then you'll just go to Buddhist hell. Bullshit. Those same people will say you have to hold your hands in a precise position. If it isn't that way, once again, Satan's going to drag you kicking and screaming to hell. No, he's not. He's got better things to do. So, more than 50% of the Buddhist world does not touch their thumbs. I don't touch my thumbs. I'm ridiculously energy sensitive, and when that that's an excellent question. I'll have to get back to you, James. And so, personally, I don't touch my thumbs. I'm too energy sensitive. I find the energy coalesces in my degenerated vertebrae in the lumbar region, which is bad news for me. So I don't do it. I'm much happier sitting without my thumbs touching. So I invite you to do likewise. Now, what some teachers do is they instruct their students to stick out their elbows. And then they are surprised when their students have sore shoulders, which is a tongue twister. So let's not do that. So here's how the secret. The sustainable way to manage your arms is with your scapula. Those flat bones behind your shoulders. We manage our scapula with our face. Look down and your scapula over open. Look up and your scapula over close. But imagine there was a line, a string, between your forehead and your chin. If that string was perpendicular to the floor, then most likely your scapula would find the sweet spot. And it would affect the way your arms hang. Some people teach to lean to one side and lean to the other side, to look down and look up and find the middle point. You can do that if you want. I'm very grateful to my Chinese teachers who taught me to imagine that I had a rope with a lasso. And I placed the lasso under my chin, so the knot or the loop was at the top of my head. And I imagined taking the remainder rope and passing it over a pulley suspended from the ceiling. And that by pulling on the imaginary rope, I could develop a vertical traction between my tush and my head. So I could imagine that occurring during the inhalation, and I can imagine it relaxing during the exhalation. Now, it takes effort. And like all forms of physical training, we must pursue it gradually. So I've prepared a chart. I'm going to tap button 5. Okay, good. So, this isn't fitting really well, so I'm going to have to do some adjustment here. Let's see. I'm going to have to hit this button. All right. Oh, what? But wait, there's more. Okay, hopefully that'll do it. Okay. Well, that was interesting. So, here's what I recommend. Oopsie. Oy vey. Such an evening. The first week, sit for 5 minutes every 12 hours. You can set a timer on your phone. And, in fact, you can set a timer on your phone, sit for 5 minutes while attending a live stream. That'll work too. Do this every 12 hours, and after a week or so, you'll be ready to bump it up to 10 minutes every 12 hours. After a week or so, you'll be ready to bump it up to 15 minutes. By the fourth week, you'll probably be ready to bump it up to 20 minutes. Proceed gently, patiently, methodically, and by the conclusion of the 75th week, your body will be able to sustainably sit for a 15-minute lesson and a 60-minute meditation. How cool is that? An additional fringe benefit of progressing incrementally is it reduces the amount of disruption introducing meditation into your life could cause. It reduces the disruption physically and in terms of our schedule. I guess that would be chronologically. It reduces the disruption interpersonally, so that our partner or our children or our pets don't freak out. If they see mom or dad or partner disappearing for 5 minutes and you've told them, you're doing meditation so you can be less of a dickhead, they'll probably thank you. Thank you for trying to be less of a dickhead. And if they see you're only gone for 5 minutes and you're progressing incrementally, they will be less stressed out by it. They will harbor less fears of you shaving your head and cavorting off to a monastery somewhere. So there you go. We've explored the physical aspect of meditation. Practice it. Apply these tips externally with your props, internally with all this stuff, and you'll find that sitting is not only less painful, it can actually become pleasurable. The more pleasurable sitting is, the more you will do it. Now, before I move on to the neuroscience of meditation, the mental aspect, I must take 30 minutes for housekeeping. Okay, let's make sure this microphone is working. It is. This is the feckless Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism, Hinduism, and Taoism, so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi. Which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. All right, so my pal, James, with a good heart and a keen mind, asked me for some simple reading materials. And the majority of Buddhist books I've encountered are crummy. They're either pseudo-intellectual or dead wrong. They will teach you how to practice Buddhism through the lens of Yang, through the lens of the Buddha's wicked cousin Devadatta, through the lens, you guessed it, of being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Now, call me provincial, but that doesn't sound like a good time to me. Fortunately, I've written some horribly amateurish commentaries. I've written a commentary to the Tao Te Ching, actually working on 2, but I've got 1 done. It's pretty horrible. And when I say horrible, I mean it has a wealth of like typographical errors, and I couldn't figure out whose voice to write in. I wrote in Carl Sagan's voice, I wrote in John Green's voice, I wrote in, who's his face? Neil Gaiman's voice. But I had some fun. So if you want, I can publish that as a PDF and put it on the download page. I've written several commentaries of Heart Treasure of the Enlightened Ones. I should probably post that. I could start rewriting that. And of course, I've already written a commentary on the Song of Enlightenment, as well as a commentary on Dorje Simba Namka Che, also known as Total Space of Vajrasattva. So if you persist and remind me enough, I'll start posting that on the download page so you can download those. Everything I write is formatted to be read horizontally on your smartphone. And on the download page is instructions to open it with the free Kindle app that lets you bookmark your place. Because if you've ever tried reading a PDF without that, it keeps resetting. It keeps losing your place, and that will make you lose your shit, which is not something you want from a spiritual experience. So I will hook you up. Persist in reminding me, because I'm pretty much up to my eyeballs and stuff. But I'll start posting those books, and Bob's your uncle. I hope that helps for you. Okay, no, enough of... And by the way, everything I do is free. The PDFs are free. Everything I do is free. Think of me as your local Dharma slut, because I'm giving it away. So back to it. Easy meditation practice text is approved by Buddha-Cat. It's kind of a big deal. So I'm only got a few minutes left, so let's race through this. We'll start with mindfulness, which is the 7-fold of the Buddha's 8-fold path. Every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, whether we feel it or not, whether we intend to or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system, which is located in the thoracic or the ribcage region of our spinal cord. It has not evolved to indulge either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration, but it has evolved to support our perception and to allow us to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Now, you might ask, if we're not supposed to actively concentrate upon our breath, what do we do with it? We can treat our breath the way a piano student might treat their metronome. When we notice our body spontaneously breathing in, thanks to the behavior of our medulla oblongata, we could silently and mentally recite the first line, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. When we notice our body exhaling, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Now, once again, I have to speed this up because I do have a time constraint. We can turn our attention now. So let's take a moment to review mindfulness. Every time we inhale, we're wired to practice mindfulness. Spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. We're wired. It's already there. We don't have to force it. Every time we breathe in, we're wired to notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. Every time we breathe in, we're wired to notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Now that begs the musical question, what do we do with all that stuff that we notice? And the answer is meditation, which happens to be the eighth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, whether we feel it or not, we access the parasympathetic nervous system. This is ensconced within both the lower lumbar region of the spinal cord as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. And this parasympathetic nervous system is evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. During our second set of meditation exercises, during the inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite sitting tall, thus reminding our body to generate a vertical traction between our tush and the top of our head. Don't worry, playing with this exercise won't make your hair fall off. I know, I've tried it. During our exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite the three-syllable verb, relaxing. This brings us to our third of 4 exercises. So once we've done this, maybe for 16 rounds or so, we can jump over to the third exercise. Now, I've got some good news and some bad news. We'll begin with the bad news. If we've had the misfortune to be told to actively concentrate and actively contemplate, then our blood will gather at the small bit called the amygdala at the bottom of our limbic system that functions as both the seat of anxiety as well as the seat of aggression. No wonder, if this has been your experience, no wonder you haven't enjoyed meditation. However, once you have received the good news that you can replace active concentration with passive awareness, once you receive the good news that you can replace active contemplation with passive meditation, you will feel your blood will shift from your fearful, cranky amygdala to your hunk of meat, described as the anterior cingulate gyrus, located just a few centimeters behind our forehead. It functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. This is why the greatest Dzogchen Lamas of Tibet have insisted that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. Finally, we come to the fourth step. Once we've performed this exercise during the inhalation, silently and mentally reciting, notice this. During the exhalation, silently and mentally reciting, relaxing. We've done this 12 or 16 rounds. We're ready to just scooch on over to the one-syllable version. During our inhalation, we could just kick back now. During our inhalation, we could watch the antics of mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines, while silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, we could relax into mind's non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb ease. Now here's a very clever question you might ask. Why are we playing with words? Simple. Even though our sympathetic nervous system is clever, and even though our parasympathetic nervous system is clever, our brain, the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears, is an idiot savant. It's going to get in the way unless you give it a task. The easiest way to get our 3-pound supercomputer to cooperate with both our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system, together known as the... I forgot. I'll have to get back to you on that. The easiest way to get our 3, our brain to cooperate is to give it a job. Hey, brain, during the inhalation, silently and mentally recite this, and we'll wind up noticing, we'll wind up cooperating with our sympathetic nervous system. Oh, autonomic nervous system. That's what they're known together. Phew. During our exhalation, give your brain the job of silently and mentally and passively reciting the one-syllable verbies during the exhalation, and you will find your brain is cooperating. You won't have to fight. You won't have to fight against your controlling tendencies to actively concentrate and actively contemplate. You won't have to fight against your fear and aggression. You won't have to fight against the endless absurdities of our brain. You'll find that our brain is cooperating with our autonomic nervous system. And as you progress over the next 15 weeks, from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes to 20 minutes, you will find that the physical energy and the emotional joy multiply. Let's see, I've got to push the right button in the right sequence. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel, either by clicking the join button or by giving, or just, by subscribing. Let's see here. In approximately 11 and 1/4 hours, reading, what a concept, eh, kids? In approximately 11 and 1/4 hours, I would love to come back and lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.